Hello and welcome to Pabbly Connect. In this video, I'm going to show you how you can add one inbuilt action within another inbuilt action on the Pabbly Connect Developer Platform. Now, if you're someone who is integrating applications inside Pabbly Connect using the Pabbly Connect Developer Platform, this video is going to help you a lot. So while building an integration and adding some triggers and actions, at times we may have to create some kind of inbuilt action as well to build the triggers and actions of our choice. So let me tell you that inside the Pabbly Connect Developer Platform, you can add one inbuilt action which you have created inside other inbuilt action as well. And you can add those inbuilt actions in your actual trigger or action event too. So let me show this to you with the help of an example. So as you can see, here we are on Pabbly Connect's developer platform. And here I have an application named as Google Sheets. So we are going to take Google Sheets integration as an example to understand that how you can add one inbuilt action inside another inbuilt action on the Pabbly Connect developer platform for the app integration which you are building. We will just go to the action section and we are going to take an example of Google Sheets add new row action event. Now here we have entered the basic details of the action event. We will scroll down and here you can see these inbuilt actions which we have added. We will come to this in a couple of minutes. But first we'll scroll down and come to this API configuration. So we have the API endpoint to add a new row of data in a Google Sheet. Now here you will notice that this API endpoint required the spreadsheet ID and the sheet name in which we want to add the new row of data. So what we have to do, we have to basically get a list of all the spreadsheets which the user has in the Google Sheets account which they have connected. After selecting the spreadsheet, whatever sheets they will be having in that spreadsheet, we also have to get the details of those sheets as well, the list of those sheets as well. Now to get the spreadsheets and the sheets from the connected accounts, we have added these inbuilt actions over here. So the first inbuilt action which we have added is of list spreadsheet. Let's check this inbuilt action once. I'll just click on this edit inbuilt action button. And here you can see we have given this inbuilt action a name and selected the inbuilt action type as drop down and custom fields. Because the data which we will be getting using this inbuilt action, using the API call which we have in this inbuilt action, we want to show that data as drop down. So in the front end, in the Pabbly Connect workflow, you can see we have this Google Sheets action step added over here for add new row action event. And here you can see under select spreadsheet, we have this drop down. That's why we have selected the drop down and custom field action type. Then after that, we will scroll down and we have the API configuration for this particular action step, inbuilt action step. So we have the API endpoint using which we will get a list of all the spreadsheets which the user will be having in their account. And after making this API configuration and clicking on send test request, we will be receiving some response over here. And in this response, you can see the details of the spreadsheet which we have in the user's account. So this endpoint was to list all the spreadsheets and we have the details of the spreadsheet. Now here in this response, you can see the details of only one spreadsheet, but actually it is just showing the data of one spreadsheet. It will get the data of all the spreadsheets as you can see over here in this drop down. So this was our first inbuilt action. Using this inbuilt action, we are getting a list of all the spreadsheets from the connected account. Now, after getting the list of all the spreadsheets, we want to add a parameter over here in the action event. So we have added the parameter of spreadsheet ID as you can see over here. And if we click on this gear icon in front of it, you can see we have configured this parameter as well. The label name is select spreadsheet. You can see the same label name over here in the action event in the front end. Then after that, we will notice we have selected the parameter type as dynamic dropdown. And here after selecting dynamic dropdown as the parameter type, here you can see in option label in this dropdown, you can see we have a list of all the responses which we have received from the inbuilt action. So from the list spreadsheet inbuilt action over here, you can see we have received all of these responses and you can see the same responses over here in option label and also in option value. In option label, you have to select the response. You have to select the data which you want to show to the user on the action step. So here you can see in the action step, we get a list of spreadsheet. We get the spreadsheet names over here. We get the spreadsheet labels. But if we turn this mapping button on, you can see after that, we get the spreadsheet ID over here. So whatever text, whatever values you want to show to the user in the front end, you have to select that in option label as we have selected file name, and whatever values you want to pass in the API call, you have to select that in option value. So the users will be seeing the labels, but we will be passing the value for that label over here. As you can see from this drop down, we have selected value over here, the file ID. So we will be passing that value for that. So users will be referring to their spreadsheets by their name, but in the API call, we have to mention the ID spreadsheet ID. So we will be mentioning or sharing the file ID spreadsheet ID in the value. Then after that, we have selected the field type as select because the user have to select one option from the drop down. So in this way, we have configured this particular parameter over here using the response which we have received using the inbuilt action of list spreadsheet. Now, after listing the spreadsheet, we also have to pass the sheet name as well, that from the spreadsheet, in which sheet we want to add a new row of data. And to get the list of all the sheets which we have in the spreadsheet, we have added another inbuilt action of list sheet. We will just open this inbuilt action as well and let's check it. So here in this inbuilt action, you can see we have entered the name and selected the same inbuilt action type as drop down and custom fields. After that, you will notice that in this inbuilt action, we have added another inbuilt action over here. This was our actual feature which we were going to discuss today, that you can add an inbuilt action inside another inbuilt action. But first, let's know why we did this. So in the API configuration, to get a list of all the sheets which we have in a spreadsheet, we have this API endpoint URL. And here in this endpoint, you will notice that it is asking us for the spreadsheet ID, that from which spreadsheet we want to get a list of all the sheets. So we want to get the list of all the sheets from the spreadsheet which the user have selected over here in the previous field. So this field of select sheet depends upon the previous field of select spreadsheet. So we are having an hierarchy structure over here. This is the parent field, this is the child field, and then we have the grandchild field and so on. So whatever spreadsheet the user is going to select, we have to send the ID of the same spreadsheet in this API endpoint URL in the list spreadsheet inbuilt action. And that is why to get the spreadsheet ID of the selected sheet and send the spreadsheet ID in this API endpoint URL while making the API call, we have added this list spreadsheet inbuilt action. Because this API endpoint, this API call depends upon the spreadsheet which the user has selected. So we have added this inbuilt action, and here in this API configuration, we have configured this parameter as well because we want to send the spreadsheet ID. We will just click on this gear icon, and here you can see this is a dynamic parameter. This means every time the user might be sending some new spreadsheet ID, they might be selecting some new spreadsheet. So we have selected the dynamic parameter value over here. In this dropdown, you can see a list of all the responses which we have received in the list spreadsheet inbuilt action. So we have added an inbuilt action. We have the responses for all of that, and we are going to select the file ID. We are going to map or select the spreadsheet ID over here. So we will be passing the response of the spreadsheet ID, which the user has selected over here. Then after this, you will notice that after configuring this API, we have clicked on send test request, and we have received this response over here. And in this response, we have received all the details. We have received a list of all the sheets which we will be having in that spreadsheet. So we can only see the response of one sheet, but actually it will list the data of all the sheets over here. So in the dropdown, you can see we have a name of all the sheets. So in this way, we have basically added an inbuilt action of list spreadsheet in another inbuilt action of list sheet. Because list sheet, this particular inbuilt action or this particular field was dependent upon a previous field. And you can do this in any case. So we just took an example of Google spreadsheet, but you can basically use the same logic, the same feature of Pabbly Connect Developer Platform and add an inbuilt action into another inbuilt action. Now, after successfully creating this inbuilt action of list sheet and adding this inbuilt action in our actual action event, we have to configure this inbuilt action as well. So we have added a parameter in the API configuration of add new row action event. So we have created a parameter of sheet name, as you can see over here. And if you click on this gear icon in front of it, you can see we have entered the label name as select sheet. So in the front end, you can see we have this label name, same label name, select sheet. Then after that, it is also a dynamic dropdown because the list or the name of the sheets will be keep on changing. And here in option label, in this dropdown, you can see a list of all the responses which we have received from the inbuilt action. Out of all of these responses, from the responses of list sheet, this particular inbuilt action, we have selected the response of property name. So basically we have sheet's property title. We had to pass the name of the sheet. So we have selected this response of sheet property title. So here in label, we have selected the name, and here in option value as well, you will notice that we have selected the name because we don't have to pass the sheet ID. We just have to pass the sheet name in the API call. That's why we have selected the label and the values as same. Now, because this is a drop down and user have to select one option, so the field type is select, and you can enter the other details for this configuration. So we have added an inbuilt action over here of list sheet, and we have configured that inbuilt action in our actual action event as well. So in this way, you can add one inbuilt action into another inbuilt action on the Pabbly Connect Developer Platform when you have a situation that your one inbuilt action is dependent upon another inbuilt action. And while adding inbuilt action, you have to notice that you have to follow a proper hierarchy structure. Means because the list sheet inbuilt action was dependent upon list spreadsheet, that's why we had the list spreadsheet inbuilt action first. If you add the list spreadsheet inbuilt action as second and list sheet inbuilt action as first, this logic will not work. So you have to maintain a proper hierarchy structure while adding the inbuilt actions as well. And while adding this inbuilt action into another inbuilt action, you have to keep maintaining the same hierarchy too. Now, at last, you will notice that we have another inbuilt action of get first row. So we will just have a look on this inbuilt action as well, just to summarize this complete concept. So you can see we have the name of the inbuilt action, we have the inbuilt action type as drop down and custom field. We'll scroll down further and you will notice in this inbuilt action, we have added the previous two inbuilt action of list spreadsheet and list sheet. Let's check the API configuration, and yes, here you can notice in the API configuration of get first row inbuilt action, we have to basically send the spreadsheet ID and the sheet name as well. We have to send that from which spreadsheet and from which sheet we want to get the first row of data as headers. So that's why we have added the inbuilt action of list spreadsheet and list sheet. And we have configured both of these inbuilt actions in the parameter field as well. In spreadsheet ID, you will notice we have entered the same spreadsheet which the user has selected in the drop down over here in the front end. So whatever spreadsheet they will be selecting for the same spreadsheet, we are going to select the sheet, and for the same sheet as well, we are going to get the data of the first row over here. That's why we have added two inbuilt actions in this inbuilt action of get first row. So this is how you can add one inbuilt action inside another inbuilt action on your Pabbly Connect Developer Platform. Now we saw this whole process, this whole feature with Google Sheets as an example. But let me show you another example where we are using one inbuilt action inside another inbuilt action where the fields are dependent upon each other. So I'll get back to the workflow and I'm going to add a new action step over here. And I'm going to take an example of ClickUp. Then after that, in action event, I'm going to select create task with custom fields and connect my ClickUp account over here. Now, after connecting my ClickUp account, we are going to see we have some fields over here. The first one is workspace, second one is space, third one is folder, and fourth one is list. And in that list, whatever fields we will be having to add a new task, you can see a list of all the fields over here. And here you will notice we have the similar logic of one inbuilt action being inside another inbuilt action. So here we have the first field of workspace. So we have added an inbuilt action of get workspace using which we will get a list of all the workspace which the user will be having in their account. After getting a list of all the workspace, we have the second field of get space. So in the selected workspace, whatever spaces you will be having, you will get a list of all the spaces over here. And here in this field of space, whatever space you are going to select, let's say I'm going to select this Pabbly Connect space, on that basis, the folder and list will be keep on changing. So whatever folders we are going to have in this Pabbly Connect space, in the selected space, the list of same folders will be received in the drop down of folders. And whatever folders we are going to select over here, on that basis, the list will be keep on changing. So here you can see as we are changing the fields over here, as we are changing the previous fields, the options in the next field are keep on changing, that whatever list we will be having in this folder, we can see the same list in the next drop down. So to create these kind of hierarchy structures and to create these kind of interdependent fields, we basically add one inbuilt action inside another inbuilt action on the Pabbly Connect Developer Platform while building our app integration. So this is it for today's video. I hope this video was helpful to you and you have a better understanding that how you can add one inbuilt action inside another inbuilt action on the Pabbly Connect Developer Platform. If you have any doubts or queries, you can always write us at support@pabbly.com or post your query on our forum. So this is it for today's video. Thank you. Have a great day.